Alright, so we're live. Shalom, family. If you're new to my channel and you're watching the replay, welcome. This series that I'm doing is a series meant to show meant to teach people all of the esoteric wisdom which our ancestors, they were aware of in the ancient days, okay? In ancient antiquity, not recent history, but far, far back in the past. And this is especially important for black people because a lot of us, we don't know where our roots are, okay? We find a little bit of, especially if you're African American, you find a little bit of resonance with certain African practices of magic and um, using your psychic gifts and abilities, but you don't really know where it comes from. You don't really know how to connect to it, okay? And me, I like to go deep. So this is the reason why I created this series, is to give you guys something to connect with. My first video was all about the origins of this kind of knowledge and information. Now, as we move forward, it's just going to be talking about a lot of this esoteric wisdom and knowledge, okay? So today, I'm going to be showing you guys that you are actually a light being, okay? That you guys are infinite light. All right, so let's get into it. Your infinite form of light, and this right here is actually what's his name, Avalokiteshvara. Okay, he's a bodhisattva, the bodhisattva of compassion. He's basically the Buddhist version of Jesus Christ, okay, or Yeshua, and he has 1,000 arms so he can help all those in need. Okay, so let's move forward. All right, so first we're going to be talking about plasma. Okay, many people don't know. We were taught that atoms is what the universe is primarily made of, because first at a certain point we thought that atoms is as small as things can be broken down. But what has been recently proven, and I don't know why more people haven't heard about this, is actually that plasma makes up 99% of the universe. Okay, and now the thing with that is, you guys must be saying, well, that should be visible. But what you have to understand is the portion of the universe which is primarily made of atoms would be like the Earth, or more like solids and things that you can tangibly interact with, water, gases and things like that, things that we can see, perceive, and interact with. But plasma goes a bit beyond that, and this is why they call it the fourth state of matter, okay, which you guys will see. So it says 99% of the universe is made up of plasma. It says Dr. Dennis Gallagher, a plasma physicist at NASA. This is from NASA, Marshall Space Flight Center. Very little material in space is made of rock like Earth, okay? And that's why it says 99.9% of the visible universe is made of plasma, because in between all of this like physical stuff that we can interact with is a lot of empty space, okay? And that empty space, they call it plasma. So let's go to the article. Right here it says plasma is not a gas, liquid. You guys can see that I'm actually on the NASA website, but let's make sure that everything is in proportion that you guys can see. You should be able to see, but we're going to continue. Plasma is not a gas, liquid, or solid. It is the fourth state of matter. Plasma often behaves like a gas, except that it conducts electricity and is affected by magnetic fields. On an astronomical scale, plasma is common. The sun is composed of plasma. Remember this right here. The sun is composed of plasma. Fire is plasma. Fluorescent and neon lights contain plasma. Okay? And now, what you guys see right here, the representation of the Earth, is you're seeing Earth's magnetic field. Okay? And you're seeing the plasma, what they call the plasmosphere, sphere around the Earth. Okay? And a lot of what they call solar winds from the sun is actually passing onto the earth, and earth's magnetic field protects us from too much of the sun's harsh radiation. All right. So yeah, you know, we were always taught that there's three states of matter: water, gas, it's a liquid, gas, and then a solid. Okay, but there's actually a fourth state, which they call plasma. And I really believe that plasma actually is what psychics call, or mystics call, energy. Okay, so let's move forward. Everything vibrates. Okay, so that actually complements what I was just saying, as we see plasma as energy. Okay, because we're always looking for the source, which I'll talk about a little bit more in the next slide. We're always looking for the source of what creates matter and allows this physical reality to be. Okay, but everything has a vibration. Everything has a source, right? Which is supplying it so that it can be in the state where we can interact with it. Okay, some call this energy, some call this plasma. Everything vibrates. Science has found that by using the proper sound frequencies, even solid mass must correspond to the vibrational output. Okay, even solid mass, like we interact with on a daily basis, must correspond and must respond and act accordingly to sound waves and frequencies. Okay, which I'm going to show you guys in a second. This is no surprise, as even our thoughts can be measured in wavelengths. This is true, search it up. Using brain scans, scientists have proven that by chanting Om, ease is spread throughout the brain, creating coherence. Okay, chanting Om even stimulates the vagus nerve, which is essential for regulating the heart and digestive organs. Okay, just by chanting, just sound waves. This literally changed the biochemistry of our body. It literally takes your body from a state of sickness and brings it to a state of health. Okay, sound waves, frequencies is doing that. It's changing the physical mass of your body. It's changing the state of your body. Okay, so that's an example right there. Now I'm going to show you guys all of my sources. So first we're going to start with this YouTube video showing a group of researchers who use sound waves, sound frequencies to levitate objects, okay, which I believe they were doing in the past.
From Spain and UK have discovered a new technique of acoustic levitation that allows an object to move independently on any axis. This is done using a specific kind of sound wave to lift the object on its own. These sound waves are called standing sound waves, and they are basically sound waves that reflect off of the surface and back through themselves, creating small points called nodes. These nodes can be used to literally lift objects and move them in either direction. A new technique called holographic acoustic tweezers places 250 small speakers facing inwards in a box, creates these nodes that are capable of suspending objects and moving them individually. Believe it or not, this technique could be used for more than just trippy magic tricks. It can also be used in the medical field. In theory, doctors can use sound waves to control devices that would allow them to perform surgery without cutting anyone open. So what do you think? Could holographic acoustic...
So as you guys seen right there, was demonstrated that all different kinds of small objects was being moved with just sound frequency alone. Okay, now I believe that our technology is really primitive. I believe that our ancient ancestors, that's how they were possibly cutting and moving these like heavy blocks that weigh tons. Okay, and moving them, because I don't feel like they were pulling them, okay, from quarries that was like hundreds of miles away, and laborious work with tons of heavy cut stones, okay, and putting them the way that they were. I just don't believe it. There hasn't been any kind of evidence showing me that the tools that they're using supports that. Okay, so I don't feel like this technology is new. Our ancient ancestors have always been talking about sound frequencies and the power of that. Okay, so that is just one example, and now we're going to take a look at an article. This is actually from a government site, which is acknowledging the power of the Om frequency. Okay, so I'm gonna read from background. A sensation of vibration is experienced during audible Om chanting. This has the potential for vagus nerve stimulation through its auricular branches and the effects of the brain thereof. The neurohemodynamic correlates of Om chanting are yet to be explored, so they wanted to look into and see what Om can achieve in the chemistry of the brain. Materials and methods. Using functional magnetic resonance imaging, they call it MRI, the neurohemodynamic correlates of audible Om chanting were examined in right-handed healthy volunteers, 12. The Om chanting condition was compared with pronunciation of S as well as a rest state. The MRI analysis was done using statistical parametric mapping. I don't really know what that is, but let's look at the results. In this study, significant deactivation was observed bilaterally during Om chanting in comparison to the resting brain state in bilateral, orbital, frontal, and anterior cingulate, parohippocampal, thalami, and hippocampi. The right amygdala, too, demonstrated significant deactivation. No significant activation was observed during Om chanting. In contrast, neither activation nor deactivation occurred in these brain regions during the comparative task, namely the S pronunciation condition. So basically, the very states of our brain, the very regions of our brain that's active when we are going about our day-to-day life, when we're in our wake state, right? The amygdala is the part of our brain that is active when we are responding to fear, okay? And the limbic part of our brain is the brain that responds to stress and emotions, okay? And also the hippocampus, that part of our brain actually deactivates when we go to sleep, okay? So all of these parts of the brain that they just mentioned, it deactivates when we go to sleep, and that's why a lot of us are able to get a restful sleep and we feel very, very calm. So what chanting Om does after a period of time is it invites calm into the body, and you can go into deeper states of consciousness, almost like you're going into a deep sleep, okay? And that allows the body to restore and to heal itself, okay? So that's proof right there that sound frequencies alone is interacting with matter in a way where matter must correspond. It must respond accordingly, okay, to the vibrational output. Now we can move to the next slide, talking about the 5 elements, okay? Most of you guys always hear about the 4 elements. Seldomly do you guys hear about the 5 elements, and when you do, it's always seen in the spiritual community, and most of you guys don't really know the science behind it, which is why I'm here, okay? Now, the 5 elements. The 5 elements are the building blocks of our universe. The 5th element generally isn't accepted by mainstream academics, but is obsessively sought after. Many scientists have spent decades trying to figure out what is the sustaining force of this material world. Atoms were once thought to be the sustaining force until it was observed that even atoms are made up of finer particles, okay? So we know that the basic elements, air, earth, fire, and water, that again, they're made up of atoms, right, of matter that can be traced down. We can see it if you put it under one of those like fine scopes, right? You can see it as really small, but then we know that it breaks down, atoms break down smaller, but that cannot be really seen, and scientists actually doesn't know how much that atoms can be broken down, okay? They haven't come to a conclusion. There's still a lot of debate of like, what is that 5th element? What is that source that is giving rise to all of these things. And again, I just explained to you guys that plasma may be that fifth element. Plasma may, there may be a possibility that's not the right word to use. So for now, I'm just going to use energy. Okay, keep it simple. I think there is actually, what's it called, a reason to keep things simple sometimes. Okay, mystics just call this fifth element energy. Okay, if you want to call it plasma, if it makes you feel more comfortable, cool, but I don't want to use that word really throwing it around willy-nilly when I know there's a lot of science behind it. But to me, plasma and energy just seems like, the perfect match. Like they're basically the same thing. So we're going to move forward. We are multidimensional. What are dimensions? Well, from my understanding, a dimension is a plane governed by its own unique laws and physics. For example, our physical action is quite limited on the planet which we live. That's one dimension. In another dimension, through our thoughts, we can have experiences which we wouldn't even be able to dream of having on this physical plane, right? So, to give you guys a better visual representation of dimensions, we're going to use the basic blueprint for dimensions, which is the X, Y, and Z axis. Okay. Let's see if that can be seen, though. I don't know if it can be seen. Let's see. Let's actually just click on it and see if I can. This is stock images. We're gonna go back. You guys can't see it. Okay, cool. So let's just go back to the slide, and I will explain from there. So basically, you guys are looking at the slide, and you can see that the slide is two-dimensional. Okay, it has length, right, and it has width. Okay, so you can see how tall it measures, and you can see how wide it measures. Okay, but there's a third dimension that is missing, so that it could be interacted with in a 3D way. Okay, this is why the mouse, it can only move in terms of if you want to call it forward, if you want to call it up, right, down, side to side, but it cannot, it's still not 3D. Okay, it still doesn't have the leisures which we have in this 3D world. Okay, notice things don't look like how it looks like on the TV screens on our devices. Okay, unless you're doing virtual reality. And if you wake up one day and it does, you should be concerned, because you might still be in a dream. You might still be in a dream. Okay, so yeah, that is the basic understanding of dimensions. Now, in this 3D dimension, we can only interact with things physically, right? But sound, for example, sound can go beyond these walls that I'm in. Okay, so it doesn't abide really by the laws of this 3D material plane, dimension, way of moving, okay, way of operating. And then thoughts are another dimension and plane. Okay, through your thoughts, you can be flying right now, experience the sensations of flying. If you meditate and you just imagine yourself flying, you can feel that exhilaration. You can do things which you can't really fly here in this physical plane. I know, because I've lucid dreamed before, and I've experienced flying and different things which you can't do here. Okay, that's another plane. So see, all of these different planes makes up our being. We're only taught that we're three-dimensional and we're just like stuck here, but no, we're actually multi-dimensional. Okay, you're taking in input and information from far beyond you right now. Okay, that is why you know when something is going on the other side of the world. You don't even have to know, you don't even have to see any news article or anything. You can know that a friend is about to call you in 2 days, And you don't even have to, they don't have to send you a message. It doesn't have to be a routine, anything like that, okay? Because we're multidimensional and we're always pulling in information from the consciousness, right, that connects us all, okay? So we're multi-dimensional beings. We must understand that. Moving on to the next slide, okay? I'm going to break down a little bit further the dimensions of our more subtle bodies, okay? Now, I'm going to be using the Vedanta system, okay, to break down their subtle body systems, which they call the 5 koshas, okay? And it has been characterized, I know I didn't pronounce that word right, into 3 bodies, okay? The physical body, the subtle body, and the casual body, okay? So first, we're going to start with the physical body. This is the body which you can touch and interact with, okay? Doesn't really need no explaining. They call it the Annamaya kosha, which basically just means the food kosha. And kosha just means sheath, layer, okay? Now, the next body would be the pranayama kosha, okay? This is the body which people explain of interacting with when they're astral projecting, when they're in this reality, but they're not here, okay? They can see things, what's going on, but their brain is in like a deep state of rest, and they're traveling. Call it astral traveling or out-of-body experiences, or even near-death experiences when you hear people talk about that. That's the body they're really interacting with, okay? It's only just a layer from this physical body, okay? And it's like, that's why they call it vitality, energy, and prana, okay? Prana is life. It just is breath, okay? Which we're going to be talking about in a minute, okay? And that life, that energy, right? If you want to call it prana, I don't care. Prana or plasma, I don't care. That is what's sustaining our physical body here, okay? It is almost like a conduit, okay? It's channeling energy here from the plasmic energy around us, okay? So yeah, so that we can be sustained. And then we move forward. You have the Manomaya kosha, okay? And this kosha is actually our mind, right? It's where we interact with our thoughts. It's where we dream, okay? When you're dreaming, I wouldn't necessarily say that dreams are all just thoughts, but we're actually in our mental body. We're in our mental body and we're interacting with, we're all 3 bodies at one time. Physical body, right? Because if you're sleeping in an uncomfortable position, that will affect your dreams, right? If you have an illness or disease, that could affect your dreams. And then your energy body, which is why we're able to channel in dreams. And we just kind of move up those layers, okay? And once you step into the mental kosha or the mental body, now you're in what they call the subtle body, okay? It's more fine. It's a little bit harder to trace. It's a little bit less tangible. And next is the Vijanomaya kosha, which they associate with wisdom, right? Or what I consider consciousness. Now you're not just in your own psyche anymore, but you're tapped in with the collective consciousness, with the grid, okay? It's a bit more expansive, okay? And then the last body, you have the casual body, the Maya kosha. And this body, we're always interacting with this body at once. You can never be really separate from it. Matter of fact, all of these bodies, whether we know it or not, we're using it. But the bliss kosha is a bit more special because it is like us being one with all things, okay? And we're always one with the source. We call this source, okay? Which is why they call it bliss, because if you're just meditating on source, or you just imagine like when you die, when it's your time and you become one with this white light or whatever, That's the kind of bliss that they're talking about, okay? But you don't need to die to experience that. That is running through all things at all times. We're just not really focusing on that right now, okay? Because we're multidimensional and we're experiencing a lot of different things at once. Moving to the next slide, the human biofield, okay? This is right here a representation of what they call a torus field, okay? And there's something special about the geometry, the shape, the cultivation of the human biofield, which actually comes from, is radiated from our heart, okay? Show you what it looks like. It looks like this, okay? And it radiates from the space of our heart, which is interesting because the heart is the first organ that actually develops when we come into being as a fetus, okay? It's our heart, because it's important, it's essential. It's actually very magnetic, okay? To me, our heart is like our first brain, and really probably the most important system, because it supplies like our entire body with blood, even the brain, you know, and without it, we simply just could not be here. Okay, you could live with brain functions in your body, meaning brain functions being like dead, but you can't live without your heart. It's just not possible. But the human biofield is not really accepted as hard. So if you're one of those hardcore science people, there's not much facts around this. Okay, but I feel like in time science will start to accept this. But me as a psychic, I understand this to be a fact, because I can actually see auras, and see people's biomagnetic field. Okay, I can see their etheric body, right? What they call the prana, what they call it? I want to pronounce that name properly. They call it pranamaya kosha. Okay, I can actually see that, and a lot of psychics can see auras. Okay, and it looks something like this. Hold on, I'm going to kind of shift the screen a bit so you guys can see what things look like. All right. Now you guys should be able to see it just a little bit better, okay? Hopefully. But if not, you see those layers radiating out from the human body, okay? And that's what auras look like. Now let's move forward. We're going to be talking about a very important symbol, which is found in ancient Egypt, and it's the Ankh. Okay, I created the Ankh here out of clay. I want to paint it. I'm going to use it for my full moon ritual. It's coming up. And it's a very sacred symbol, okay? You guys see this symbol actually in many different cultures, just in a different way, okay? So, the breath of life. The Ankh is a very sacred symbol. It can be found throughout various cultures in many different forms. In the Hebrew language, because Hebrew is actually an African language, okay? The Hebrew language, it comes from the Phoenician alphabet, okay? They basically made the blueprint, and the Phoenicians are Canaanites, and the Canaanites descend from Ham. Ham, or Ham, right, is the womb or the motherland, okay? It's Africa. So it's related to the Egyptian language, which is why you will find many similarities in the language. But anyway, in the Hebrew language, the word for breath or spirit is ruach, okay? Notice that if you add an N to Akh, then you have Ankh, okay? And that's the Hebrew word for breath. And notice, you'll see that the Ankh, they always talk about the Ankh symbolizing eternal life, okay? The Ankh can be seen being held to the nose of the Egyptians in their hieroglyphics, again and again symbolizing breath, which really is energy, and energy is eternal. Okay, we were just speaking about the pranamaya kosha, okay, the etheric body or the astral body which sustains this physical body. It is eternal. They know that it cannot die, okay, which is why the Ankh symbolizes that, and it symbolizes eternal life, okay, because they know that we are gods in the flesh. All right, so now I'm going to actually show you guys this Ankh breath of life. You will commonly see, let's move this over here. In Egypt, that the Ankh is held up to the nose of pharaohs, of deities, okay? We see this over here again with Sekhmet holding it up to a pharaoh's nose, right? This is commonly found. We see this again in this representation, okay? And then we see it again, Horus holding up the Ankh to another pharaoh's nose, okay? So that symbolizes the breath of life, which is why the Hebrews, they called it Ruach, okay? Ruach. Even in Genesis, Bereshit, where they talk about the Elohim coming down and creating things. When they mention the Elohim, they say the spirit of the Elohim, or they say Ruach, okay, eternal force. Now, I want to show you guys something interesting. Notice the Ankh shape, okay? Matter of fact, I'm going to compare it side by side. So I'll put another tab here, and then I will show you guys the woman's uterus, okay? And notice, guys, that it looks exactly the same, and this is where the conception of life happens, okay? Let's find a worthy representation of the Ankh to show this. This will work fine. Yeah, so you see the arms that come out to the side, the round loop, right? And then it goes down. It's the same thing, okay? It's the same thing that's going on there. And then you will also see this with what they call the trisquetra, the number, the triangle, right? The triangle, or the Holy Spirit, Holy Force, the Trinity, right? You'll see this again as well. Let's compare it. Uh-oh. You look at the uterus, right? And you see what's going on there. And you look at the trisquetra. Matter of fact, upside down. We gotta see one upside down. Because this is right side up. But if you look at it upside down, you can actually compare it well, right? Two arms going out, right? Going down. It's very similar to the Ankh, okay? Very similar to the uterus as well. The last symbol that I want to show you guys, matter of fact, it's not the last. Let me show you guys two more symbols. It's the ram's head. If you look at the ram's head, it looks especially like that. Okay? Notice the head going out like that, right? And you notice the coil of what they call the fallopian tube. Okay? It's just like the ram's head. Okay? And I will show you guys why these symbols, remember the ram is Aries in astrology, right? Why these symbols are so important. I'll show you the last symbol. Christ on the cross. It's simple. Show you. If you look at Christ on the cross, you can see his legs are nailed as one, or you see how his arms are going out like that. And you look at the uterus, again, it's the same concept there. The same concept. Same concept. Okay? Now, all of these symbols represent life, starting with the ram, Aries, okay? It's the first zodiac sign, and if you look at the season, it marks the beginning of spring, okay? And spring is when those seeds, right, all the dead life from winter is when it comes back to life. It represents the beginning of a new cycle, okay? Same thing with the uterus. It represents the conception of human life, okay? And the trisquetra is the same because it represents the principle of three, okay? Mother, father, and then child, okay? Which you put those two forces together, the mother and father, you get child, okay? And the child goes on, it starts, it marks a new cycle, new life, okay? And then it goes on to what's it called? Keep that cycle going, okay? And then Christ basically represents the same thing. If you put your trust and faith in Christ, as it is said, you will live eternally forever, okay? Christ says he will come again. That's why he was resurrected. He died on the cross and he was resurrected, okay? Just represents immortality or eternal life, okay? There's a lot of esoteric symbolism in the Bible, okay? And in many cultures, okay, they're all really talking about very similar things. Remember the Tower of Babel, right? We all spoke the same language at one point in time. We all believed in the same thing at one point in time, I'm sure. Okay, civilization in ancient history is a lot more fascinating than mainstream academics wants to account for, but that's another topic for another time. So yeah, guys, that is me right there showing you guys your immortal nature and the fact that our ancient ancestors, they were aware that we have what they call the pranamaya kosha, okay, that we have these layers outside of ourselves that can go and travel far into the galaxy, far into the universe, and that is eternal. It lives on after death, okay? Now, let's move on to the Vajra. Okay, this is a very interesting symbol right here. Okay, it actually is supposed to look like a thunderbolt, which is where you can see the prongs on it. I think they call it. Okay, it's supposed to cleave through things. The Vajra. The Vajra, Sanskrit for thunderbolt, is a very sacred item in Vajrayana Buddhism. See, note they call it Vajrayana Buddhism. The Vajra is said to cleave through ignorance and help one to achieve a state of rest or clear mind. Note the rest, okay? Here, ease and what they call salvation. One side of the Vajra symbolizes samsara, and the other side symbolizes nirvana, and they connect to the sphere in the middle, showing that they are one regardless of polarity. This is the essence of tantric teachings, okay? So one side of the Vajra represents samsara, which is the cycle of birth, life, death, and it repeats, okay? It's in the cycle of pain, happiness, love, sadness, all of the human experiences cycling. And the next part is, the other side would be nirvana, okay, which just means the out breath, outgoing breath. So it's just a relief from that, release from that. You exit out the cycle of samsara, and you'd be like, how could they be the same? But they're all the same thing, because as Alan Watts put it, you jump out of one race and you put yourself into another. Okay, you end one cycle and you put it into another. This is the eternal nature of our universe, and this is the bliss state, the rest state, the middle. When you realize, when you see both sides as not as opposite, but you see it as one, they call this non-duality, and this is the essence of tantric teaching. Okay, so let's move forward. Notice, we'll talk about that image on the left in a second. Tantra. What is Tantra? Tantra means to loom or to weave. In my personal opinion, Tantra is a form of yoga which emphasizes on the union between masculine and feminine principles. The picture displayed on the left is Yabyum, It can be translated to the mother and the father. Okay. It is also a tantric pose which intimate partners practice during sex or even just to sit with each other and create a sense of unity. The ultimate goal of Tantra is non-duality. Through different methods, the tantric practitioner may reach a state of bliss or calm as they meditate on the divine. Okay, so Tantra doesn't have to be with a partner. It can be with spirit. It could be with God. Okay, just chanting Om. Matter of fact, they use mantras a lot in Tantra to clear their mind and to just focus on being present, focus on being in a divine union with all things, with God. Okay. And this creates a state of rest or bliss. Okay. And you notice, you see that symbol. See how the divine masculine and the divine feminine is interlocked like that, because many of us see this symbol right here. Okay. The what they call the Star of David, or the Seal of Solomon. Okay. And don't even understand it's actually a tantric symbol. Okay, it's very ancient, it's very old. A lot of the information from different religions, it just gets recycled and passed down, talked about in different ways, spoken about in different ways, and they mean very similar things. Matter of fact, oftentimes the same thing. So next slide. Yeshua, Jesus, was a tantric practitioner. We're going to quote from Matthew chapter 6, verse 25 to 26. Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, nor yet for your body, what ye shall put on. Is not the life more than meat, and the body than raiment? Okay, so he's basically saying, aren't you more than your body? Okay, isn't your life more than just your physical body? Behold, the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are ye not much better than they? Okay, so he's basically saying, look, there is no need for you to be in a state of fear. Okay, because only our physical body, our physical mind understands fear. It understands survival. But beyond these survival mechanisms which we practice, because it's just instinctual, we are actually immortal, and there's never nothing wrong with us. This is the reason why many people, they find it hard to understand Jesus, his teachings, because he always practiced and spoke about compassion, loving your enemies, loving your neighbors. Okay, but we always make the contrast. We always create duality. But what Jesus was trying to do is create non-duality and show you guys the thief is no less worthy than the holy man. Okay, that's all illusion in the conditioned mind. Okay, he was trying to help us get past the conditioned mind. That is Tantra. That is practicing divine union with all things. Okay, matter of fact, it's often called non-duality in Dzogchen, because union means the coming together of both masculine and feminine. Non-duality means that they never separated to begin with. Okay, so I like that term better. I won't say better, because see, that's the conditioned mind right there. Better, worse, so on and so forth. Anyway, moving forward. Oh wait, before we move forward, I just want to show you guys in the tantric symbolism or messages in Jesus's prayer. Okay, so everyone knows the prayer in Matthew. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Okay, so right there is the concept of as above, so below. It says your kingdom, your heavenly kingdom will come onto earth, and on earth it will be done just as it is done in heaven. Okay, so it's the concept as above, so below, as within, as without, right? So just as the universe is very vast, our inside, the inside of us, inside of our conscious, is very vast as well, okay? So it's the understanding of non-duality. Everything is just a fractal of that source of the divine, branching out, okay? Now we can move forward. So we're going to be talking about Kundalini Yoga, okay? Which I actually made two well done videos on Kundalini Yoga. You can go watch it on my channel when you're done watching this video. Okay, so I'm not going to go too deep into Kundalini Yoga. I'm just going to talk about the basic essence of it, the basic goal of the practice. Okay, it's also called Hatha Yoga. So on the left, you're seeing here a representation of the human, our channels, the channels in our body. Okay, now these are not physical centers, but these are etheric centers. Okay, and they're governed by what they call nadis or knots. Okay, and you have to drive the prana from the base of the spine. Okay, where they believe the ancient Hindu practitioners who practice Kundalini Yoga or Hatha Yoga, they believe that there's a serpent coil at the base of our spine, okay? And awakening it, you drive up the prana, up these centers into your last center, which is the third eye. The seventh chakra is not really a chakra, okay? It just represents liberation, or just represents your realization of your God nature. Okay, this is why when people awaken Kundalini and they learn how to bring up this energy through their spine to their third eye center, they usually have intense visualizations, or they have things like out-of-body experiences, weird dreams, okay, or they report like feeling violent shakes in their spines, intense shakes in their spines of energy, vibration, okay, and things of that nature. In short, it is only because you're experiencing now your more subtle layers, okay? And that can be intense for sensitive people, as well as for anybody who's never really understood or experienced their finer bodies, their astral body, okay? Or the prana maya kosha, okay? So Kundalini is the act of awakening Shakti. I said the Shakti. Or powerful energy which lays coiled and dormant at the base of our spine. First, one must purify the nadis before you can properly bring up the pranic energy through our energy centers. This can be achieved through practicing many different forms of yoga, and is generally not sought after. It is generally recommended that one allow Kundalini to awaken on its own through one's yogic practices, okay? So you don't need to practice one form of yoga to awaken Kundalini. It is not a kind of set off system that you have to do a special kind of yoga. But no, this is just a representation of these energy centers in our body and the nadis, okay? But you can actually awaken Kundalini through any form of yoga, really, okay? Or meditation, all right? That's why people end up doing it and they don't even know that they are awoken Kundalini, or they weren't trying to awaken Kundalini, and maybe a pranayama practice awaken Kundalini, okay? So that is why it's not sought after. It happens at the right time, okay? And there are many different ways to practice it. When people go and they want to practice Kundalini Yoga because they hear about all the cool things it can achieve for them, what they do is they end up experience seeking, and sometimes can even end up hurting their own self, okay, by taking things to an extreme. So just allow it to happen on its own. Go ahead and practice your meditation practices and your yoga practices as you feel called, and at the right time it will open, okay? Matter of fact, you can even open Kundalini just from reading a nice poem or from listening to good music, okay? It's that simple. When one properly awakens Kundalini, profound realizations, intense pulsations of energy, heightened psychic experiences, and profound dream experiences are often results reported by yogic practitioners, as I just mentioned. Okay? So moving on to the next slide. Is there anything that I wanted to say there first? Said everything. All right. Where do you go when you dream? Okay, now we're talking about dreams. And the reason why we're talking about dreams is I just want to give you guys a better understanding of our that we are multidimensional. Okay. Many aren't aware, but dreaming is actually an ancient yogic practice across many different cultures. There are many different kinds of dreams. There are also many different forms of dreaming. In general, when we dream, we're actually out of body, and this is why people have dreams all the time, where they are seeing past, present, and future experiences which they weren't previously aware of. Okay? And so there are definitely different forms of dreaming. Okay? I know because I'm a seasoned dream practitioner. I'm always learning, but I can only talk from my experience. I've had dream experiences where I was able to remote view. Okay, so I'm seeing words before my eyes. I'm not really dreaming. I'm not like in an environment like now and just not where I'm dreaming, but I'm in like a deep theta state, so a deep kind of hypnosis state where I'm not fully awake, but I'm not fully asleep. And sometimes I will see different like symbols pop up in front of me, or I'll see words. I'll be able to read words, and I can skim through these words. I can scroll, and see them really well, read them. And sometimes when I search up certain things that they tell me, I can find connections in this reality. Okay. I also have dream experiences where I see future events happen before they actually manifest. Okay. And I will talk about two experiences that I had to give you guys an example. So, in one of my dreams, I remember my mom speaking on the phone to a friend, and this friend was telling my mom that one of my father's good friends had died in a car accident. And so this dream was concerning to me. So I did a ritual so that the events in this dream would not manifest, because you can do that. You can dispel the bad energy in dreams, and you can also help the good energy in dreams to manifest. Okay. And so I went ahead and I did this ritual so that the events wouldn't happen. And then I asked Spirit to show me what would have happened if I did not do this ritual. And then the following night, it was like a night after or the next night, I was dreaming I was in like a SUV. And then suddenly somebody sent me off course, and the car went tumbling. And it was like a multiple car crash that happened. And I was fine in the car, and I heard someone walked up to the car that I was in, and they said, this guy is dead. Okay. And that was Spirit showing me right there what would have happened if I did not do that ritual. Okay. And so that shows that we are constantly in the past, present, and future. Time is just a kind of mental construct for our mental mind. While we're here in this physical world, we play around with that, but we're actually beyond that. Okay. And this is why we tend to know things are going to happen before they happen. Okay. And another experience which I had, I spoke about this one in my last presentation, but basically I was having a lucid dream, and in the lucid dream I was walking through my living room. I heard a TV on, and I seen like a kind of, I don't know if this was a trade route or a route that the ancients in Asia used to take or something, but it was like the history channel was on or something like that, and I heard somebody narrating, and what a name was told to me. It was like Guan Yu. And so when I woke, I remembered that. And when I woke up, I searched up Guan Yu, and I found out that he was actually a soldier in the Han Dynasty. And he was depicted to be a big guy, a giant kind of dude. Okay, and he's very revered for his loyalty in China. They had a big statue of him in Asia, in China. Okay, and in most Chinese homes or Asian homes, you will go and you'll see that they have some sort of representation of Guan Yu, because he represents loyalty. Okay, and they take that very serious over there. And so that's me actually going into the past, receiving information from the past, which happens to me all the time. Okay, so that goes to show you that we're not limited to just our thoughts alone, the things that we know, and we're also not just limited to our physical bodies. Okay, but we're multi-dimensional. All right, and now I'm going to relate that to a theory which I proposed in my last presentation, where I was talking about our ancient ancestors. They buried the dead. They buried the important figures in their civilization, the pharaohs and the kings and the gods, who they call the gods, in the pyramids. And they worshiped the sun because they knew that when they died, that their soul, remember, you read earlier, I showed you guys that the sun is made of plasma, and I showed you guys that we're actually we have what they call a human biomagnetic field, okay? And I can actually see auras on people, okay? They kind of glow. They glow with colors, all the 7 colors of the rainbow. And if you put all the 7 colors of the rainbow into a prism, what you will get is light, okay? Or if you put light into a prism, you will get the 7 colors of the rainbow, okay? Showing you guys that we are actually light beings, and they understood this, and they knew that they can travel on the sun, literally, and travel on different stars and go to different solar systems, okay? And that's why you'll hear it again and again through different ancient civilizations like the Dogons, what's it called, Hopewell culture in Native America, okay? And you will hear it from pretty much all different kinds of cultures, from the Sumerians and all of them. They all believe that they were from some sort of different a star system, okay? And they believe that after they die, they're going to go to a different star system where their ancestors is, okay? And so they'll do these elaborate rituals. They will even they know the stars, like the Dogon people. They know when Sirius is having a return in relation to the Earth, okay? It's like every 50 years, and then every 60 years they do elaborate ritual for the star Sirius, the star system, okay, where they believe that their ancestors came from, okay? So they're not just saying these things because they know. They may not be able to break down all of the finer science behind it, but they know these things because this information was passed down to us from a more advanced civilization that was aware. Okay, their brain worked differently, okay? They may have not been aliens that look all crazy, but they could have just been actually hominins which have had more time to develop than Homo sapiens, okay? And they've died out in our recent history, and that information has been passed down to certain civilizations which are now the remnants, and we use these things today, or we see these symbols today, and we don't even know, a lot of us don't know what they mean, okay? And again, that is why I'm here, and that is the purpose of this series, okay? So that concludes our presentation of today. I'll be back with more mind-blowing information, okay? I don't know how long the series is going to be, but I'm going to try to cover everything that I feel like will be important for this series. Okay, so again, when you guys are tuning into this, hopefully you're taking notes, okay? And on the note of dreams, guys, I'm actually, again, a dream practitioner. So I'm going to leave the link in my description for my shop. Me and my partner Taylor, we're psychics. As I said, I can see auras, okay? And my partner Taylor, she does tarot readings, okay? So she can read for you, let you know what's going on in your life, things that you may not be seeing, and I can help you look deeper into your dreams and receive insight. I can also consult my dream space to bring you guys important information. They call it the Akashic Records, okay? So I can receive information that you guys may need to know from loved ones, okay, from the past, from the future, okay, whatever it is, I can tap into it because I'm gifted with that. I know that's my purpose, okay? So you can head over to our site and see if you're interested in our services, okay? And I'll see you guys in the next one with more mind-blowing information. Peace.